ay bathi khuluma nawo mfana wathi sihamba kanjani uLungani Gwala lo aka umfana ka-chocolate kid Leo is in the building baby. Hey, welcome to the Global Sunday Show. You know, this is your boy Lungani Gwala, and it's another Sunday. It's another, I don't know if I should say it's the beginning of the week or it's the end of the week. So some they say Sunday is the beginning of the week, and some they say Sunday is the end of the week. So I don't know. But I know that it's gonna be a really amazing weekend. It's gonna be a really amazing Sunday, because we've got some amazing stuff that's gonna be happening today. And joining me today, my lovely team that's gonna assist me today to tell me if Sunday is the beginning of the week or Sunday is the end of the week. All the way from Arizona, USA, it's Mr. London, and all the way from Austria, Mr. Pike. Welcome to the show, guys.
Welcome. And I am happy to report that Sunday is both the beginning and end of the week. But it is the day that the Global Sunday Show happens, and so it makes it the best day of the week. And also, I'm happy to report that Australia has been renamed Austria, but it's only for the day.
Not on purpose. Wait. Who's part of our team from Austria? Because
Rainer Krenstetter
for the whole week.
Rainer Krenstetter.
Because Rainer was here. I'm sorry, my bad.
Okay. Rainer got me a T-shirt when we were in Australia. He got me a T-shirt that has like a street sign, those yellow signs with black on it, and there's a picture of a kangaroo, and underneath it says, "No kangaroos in Austria." They're only in Australia. So we are launching another episode of our show. Today is a really special episode because it's kind of about reminding us how it all starts, a life in the arts, a life as a global person and all of that kind of thing. But before we get to our very special guest, Wolff, we are going to, as we always do, talk about our week. So Mr. Pike from Austria, Australia, how was your week?
Global greetings to all people. Yeah, we're sort of the other end of Austria. If you go dig a hole right through the center of the earth, you'll come out. And we talk without, if you want to talk Australian, you just put your two fingers across your nose and you've got the accent straight away. So there you go.
I see what you mean, yes.
So you have to have a British accent in the beginning though. The week in Brisbane, a lot of things going on. I went down to do a show there and we had to cancel it because of COVID. Delta strain was coming through. I had to just get back on the flight and get out of there before the lockdown. And then I got tested negative, which is good up north, but I had to do lockdown. I've been in lockdown a whole week. So yeah, it's not been good. And then there's a bit more in a town further south from me, there's a lockdown for another 3 days. So a bit of Delta strain running around Australia at the moment, and it's causing a bit of grief and havoc. So yeah, if anybody is going to a school now in Australia, they're wearing masks, teachers and students and all sorts of things. So it's that's all going down. Otherwise, weather's been fine, and I've visited forests and rainforests, and yeah, it's been a good week.
Hey, Lungani, your week.
I think I spent my week in Austria.
Digging a hole to Australia.
But today I'm flying back to Australia. Well, I mean, it has been an amazing week with a bunch of challenges, but I'm glad because we always learn from challenges, so I know that one of the challenges is like something very private, and I know Mr. London, I'll probably sleep outside if I have to mention something like that, if I were to mention something like that. But yeah, there was some issues with some technical issues as always. But yeah, I had to spend like 24 hours trying to recover some data that was lost because of some stupid computer and stuff like that. But eventually we managed to get our way out of it. But it has been a lovely week, and I've spent some time with a friend of mine by the name of Zach. In which later or soon he will be in the show, because today we have somebody else by the name of Wolff. I know that's confusing. Stop pointing fingers at me. I see you at home. I see you. I see you. Stop it. Stop judging me. But yeah, it's been a lovely week, and I'm looking forward to next week, because I'm gonna be dancing a lot. That's all on my end, Mr. Laden. What about you?
Well, my week has been, I have no idea what you're talking about technical problems. I woke up on the Monday, and there was no computer and no data and no anything. And so as a matter of fact, today, as you can see, this beautiful moon glow that I have is because I'm on a different computer with a different lighting and different. Anyway, I'm actually not a ghost. I am real. I am alive. I have blood. But other than that, what I've been doing this week is planning for some very big events coming up with the Margot Fonteyn Academy of Ballet, which is on September 11th. We're going to be having a gala here in Prescott. And there are going to be elements of it that will be on streaming, and we will have a tie-in with the Global Sunday Show. We're also then, after September 11th, on December 20th, we're going to be presenting a Nutcracker Suite ballet with stars from all over the world, stars from the Royal Ballet, the Berlin Ballet, the Stuttgart Ballet, all over the world. And this is all building up to us then opening some of our classes in January. So it's been a very busy week, and we did it just like the Ottoman Empire and the great pyramids of Giza that were built without computer help. We did it this week without computer help.
Mr. Pike.
Oh, I've been to the pyramid at Giza, so it's still standing. That's not bad for 3,000 or 4,000 years. So I'm really looking forward to today's show because it's a young dancer, and Lungani will no doubt introduce this man. I do know that it's the dancer's life parallels a lot the musician's life, although there are some big differences. So as a musician person, it's going to be very interesting. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Maybe let me talk a little bit about. I know today's show is not gonna be very long. It's just gonna be a smooth show, like we always do. But let me maybe go to entertainment news and find out what's going on the entertainment news, and then we come back. We introduce our guest, and we have a lovely conversation. See you guys right now. Welcome back to the entertainment news. This is your boy Lungani Gwala, aka Chocolate Kid Leo, of course. Today we're gonna look at Zulu Pavarotti. He just released a new album and he is doing really well. He has been tagging me on his posts on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, please go check out Zulu Pavarotti. He's got his new album and he's so excited about it, and he's just posting it everywhere, and he's getting a lot of love from people in South Africa. But I'm still trying to organize, if somebody is not from South Africa and they want the CD, I'm still trying to organize how we can make that possible, because I have been getting some requests from people, because he's an opera singer, and he's amazing. He's amazing. Obviously, he was trained at the Fontaine Secondary School, in which there's a documentary that's going to be released soon. Very soon, there's going to be a documentary that's going to be released soon. And we're fortunate enough to find one of the teachers that were part of the school when it was right at, towards the beginning of the school. So she has like a lot of history of, what happened, how the school started. If you know Margaret Fontaine, we once had an interview with Rainer, and Mr. Laden always talks about that. You want to find out more about Margaret Fontaine, you can just Google Margaret Fontaine, and you see her. She's amazing. She used to be like an amazing ballerina, and she's one of the ballerinas that dance the longest, and it's so amazing. There's so much information that I cannot finish right now, but yeah. And I know Sibongile Ngoma, one of the heroes in Africa. She is doing sort of like a tribute or celebration in honor of all the people that passed on, especially the artists, because she's an artist and she stands for artists. She is doing a tribute to people that passed on due to COVID, or people that just recently passed on during these trying times. So if you want to find out more about that, you can go to our Facebook page, you can go to the Global Sunday Show, or you can go to my personal page. I'll just paste a link to the actual page where you can see all the names. I wanted to actually read all the names. It's a very long list. There's a lot of people that died from COVID. There's a lot of people that just died from sickness, and most of them it's artists, and it's really sad. It's really sad. So we're just mourning and also celebrating their lives, because they did a huge contribution in different communities. So shout out to you, Sibongile Ngoma. I know we will be talking to you in a few weeks to come. One more thing. I know Natim Tembu is working on a new track, and he is going to be sharing that with us very soon, letting us know what the track is about. But I think it's something that is very personal. It talks about his life and stuff like that. When people start talking about something that is personal, they want to wait and think about it. Think about it over and over again, and then when they're like, okay, I thought about it enough, and then okay, now let me release it to the public. So that's what he is actually doing. And also I just want to remind everybody that Diverse TV app is coming out soon, and we're going to be launching in end of September. So if you have a content, you have a documentary that has never been seen before, and you like it to publish it with Diverse TV, please do send an email to info@diversesa.co.za, and that's going to be awesome. You have a music video that has never been published before, you have a series, you have a talk show, you have whatever it is. Just pitch your niche, and we'll definitely get back to you. I think that's all I have for today on the entertainment news. I'm just gonna take it back to my colleagues, Mr. Pike and Mr. Laden, so we can introduce our guest.
I want to say that one of the interviews I'm most excited about coming up is Sibongile Ngoma, because that woman is our Joan of Arc for the artists. She is the one who is leading the charge, is calling out the corrupt and broken system of funding for the arts that is worldwide. We have an initiative, a global initiative that is called the In Fact Accord, and that's all of the teachers of arts and culture worldwide coming together as a group. And Sibongile Ngoma is absolutely the leader of the charge, and I am more excited than I can even say about the opportunity to meet her, even if it's meeting this on a Zoom call. At any rate, in terms of our special guest today, when Margot Fontaine, the great ballerina, when I first talked to her, I was very tongue-tied and hesitant. And she said, Ken, we're both dancers. Dancers can talk to each other about anything. But what I found out is that's also true for musicians, opera singers, actors, playwrights, composers, all of the artists in the world. We are one tribe. We are one tribe with several different clans. We have the clan of music and the clan of dance, but we're one tribe. It's incredible. The most precious commodity in life, other than life itself, is talent. The thing is, life will always strive to survive, but talent has to do combat to survive from the very first day. And so today we have one of those seedlings, one of those young people with tons of talent who is fighting that battle and making his art known. And that is Mr. Wolff. And I'd love to invite you, Mr. Wolff, to the set right now.
Mr. Wolff in the building! Boo, 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 boo.
Hey, how you doing, Lungani? How you doing? Happy to be here.
Yeah, bro. Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Very excited. Very excited.
Yeah.
And how are you gentlemen today?
Mr. Pike.
We're good.
Mr. Pike.
We're good. We've got coffee and it's all happening. Yep.
All happening?
Well, except that my coffee, I only filled up the thing halfway with water and all the way to coffee. So my coffee is sort of like you could put it on the tarmac at an airport and it would be good. But I have coffee and it's all good as well. It's really great to have you here in the studio, Mr. Wolff. I've gotten to know you over this last week. And I admire you. I'm so glad you're still fighting. And also, you know, we all came from exactly where you are. We have our own story of it, but we all came from it. We all stuck to it. Margot Fontaine said that the most important aspect or characteristic of an artist is tenacity. And tenacity means you don't give up. So we're very happy to have you here.
Thank you. Like I said, happy to be here.
Mr. Wolff, burning question coming to mind. Can you tell us how you got your name, Mr. Wolff?
So I took some martial arts classes, and my teacher taught me that every single one of us has a spirit animal inside of us, and my spirit animal is the wolf. And so eventually the nickname Wolff just kind of stuck in.
Oh, that reminds me, I work with in Australia a lot of Indigenous people, and all of them, when they're born, they're given a totem, what they call a totem, which means they're given like an Australian animal. But yeah, it's an interesting parallel that you're talking about there with your martial art.
Yeah. I believe I'm aware of that. And with those totems that you mentioned, each of them represents not just the animal, but what the animal stands for, like courage, like tenacity, or love, or something that has emotional ties to that person.
Yeah, it's also reminding me of shamanic philosophy, where they choose four animals. I can't remember all of them, but one of them's the panther. One of them is an eagle, and there's a couple of there's four in the north, south, and east, west direction. So this taking on the like almost the personality of an animal. It's a very ancient thing that we seem to do more than 10,000 years, even by the sound of it.
Oh, that's very interesting. I've actually never heard that before. I learn a fun fact about something every day.
Well, you know, in a tradition that I teach about, it's a very ancient Eastern European and northern India and Eastern Europe. It's called Ankarmuse, and in that tradition, what they believe is that each person is born as the embodiment of a combination of different animals, and that is called an anamorph. And so, you know, you would be predominantly, there's one gentleman that I know, and I'm not going to be able, his spirit animal is Bantu. And that is the combination of the bear and the wolf. And so, and of course, the wolf has two sides, the sides that packs, that gets together, and the sides that's the independent. And of course, the bear has the side that is out and, foraging and building up their store and all of that, and then the part that's hibernating. And so by him having the spirit nature of Bantu and the bear and the wolf, there's four different combinations that might come at any one time. And I know for him, I met him when he was very young, and he's now a very established person in the world, man of the world. It made him be able to understand himself, his moods and how he reacted to things and how he could be so different on one day than another. And suddenly it all became clear. So I do personally believe that there's a great deal of truth to that.
Yeah. Well, that's really amazing because when you guys talk about animals, first of all, I'm afraid of spiders. Everybody knows in the entire world.
Thanks.
Everybody knows in the entire
Now,
world.
don't leave out snakes or things in the ocean.
Well, of course. It reminds me when I used to live back in South Africa, Durban. When we go to the beach with friends, I'll be like, I would really want something that would really like keep me busy, like we're talking and we have a bunch of people playing around, maybe playing hitting a ball in the sea. But if there's nothing that would interrupt me, I would start thinking that maybe there would be like a shark or a snake that would just slide next to my legs, and I would feel like, oh my god, I'm not supposed to be here. That's what I hate about swimming. But rather than that, connecting to what you guys were talking about when it comes to animals, it's really interesting because in Africa, back in the days, we used to use animals as part of education, and also we used to get a lot of information from animals. For instance, I always make this example when I talk about the history of Africa, especially when I talk about Shaka Zulu, one of the soldiers that the kings actually that defeated the oppressors back in years ago. He used to use a system that was called I would call it the horns of the cow, the horns of the cow.
The horns.
Yeah, the horns of the cow. So what he used to do is he would send soldiers to the other side and the soldiers to the other side, and he would be in the middle. So the soldiers would go all the way around and attack the enemies from the back. So while the enemies are focused on him with a clump of soldiers, there would be soldiers coming from the back. And he got that from just looking at the cow, how strong the bull is, and how it attacks, and it has like a really strong scar, and at the same time this is strong too, so he would defeat his enemies by doing that, send the soldiers at the back, and then at the same time he knows he's the head, he's the strongest, and they would definitely be defeated. So yeah, that's really amazing. But anyways, I have a question for Mr. Wolff here. For a person who is seeing you for the first time, who is Wolff? Who is Mr. Wolff?
Well, that's both an easy answer and a hard answer, because there's a whole lot of different sides of me. There's my good side and my bad side, but who doesn't have a good side and a bad side to them? What I'm really blessed with is that I had the family that always stuck by me and always pushed me to thrive in what I want to do and who I am. And throughout my life, I've had those rough times. I have gotten injured while playing sports and losing stuff that was very dear to me. And it brought me down an even rougher patch. And I realized that I just needed to stop dwelling on the past and try looking towards a better future. And so that's what I'm fighting for today. And knowing who I was back then is not the person that I am today, because I know that today I am a better person than what I used to be before, because I'm just continuing to work on my life. So if you were to ask me who I was or who I am, that's a hard question to answer. So, who I am, I'm just a guy that's trying to live his life the best way that I possibly can.
Mr. Pike.
It's very profound. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not making light of it. It's early in the morning here. I'm just coming online. But you made a comment. I was listening. I wasn't just on Fantasyland. You said that you're not the person that you were, and you kind of summarising it. You've moved on. But I was thinking about when you say that. I was thinking about all of the hard things that people come through, and I know Ken's going to pick this up in a minute. But in a way, it kind of makes you or molds you in a sense, doesn't it? It's sort of like you think life is about something at 14 or 15 or 16. You have some notion of what it is, and then you get knocked over by a big wave, and then when you finally bounce back from that, you say, oh well, it's a little bit different than I thought. So I think I know of a person at the moment who's struggling a lot in her life, and she says to me, she's always thinking about when times were better from the past, and now she's in a predicament which is a bit tough. And I try to say it to her, but she can't understand it or listen at this time. She will in time, but I just said, this is all making you, as my grandmother used to say to me, it either makes you or breaks you. But in most cases, it makes us, I suppose. That's my comment.
Well, I think that the greatest achievement in life is not being who you used to be, because everything that happens every day is adding something else. It's like the new Global Sunday Show app. Everything that we go through, we get a new app. We get something else we know how to do, something else we know that perhaps before we feared, but now we know we can survive it, which makes the other things we fear a little less terrifying, because we know we can do it. I think that that's something that's very important. Margot Fontaine, and I'm sorry to talk about her today. As Lungani said, I always talk about her. So apparently, if you're bored, go on YouTube and look up videos of Margot Fontaine. No. So Margot Fontaine's husband had been elected to be the president of Panama. And 2 weeks later, before he was instated, there was an assassination attempt in his life. He was going to an intersection in traffic, and cars came up from all sides and started shooting. And he was paralyzed from the chin down. He lived another 26 years. And here, Margot Fontaine, the greatest ballerina in history, is all about movement in the body, and her husband he could only pronounce words using the sides of his tongue and the top lip. And he would just make a sound like through his throat, and then he would shape it with what he could do with his tongue and his top lip. Margot immediately, he had been the ambassador to the court of St. James, the ambassador to London, and he was a lawyer. And what she did was she immediately signed him up with a bunch of international law clients, even when they didn't even know he was going to live or not. And then she stood by him every single day and got him through it. Well, run the clock forward to March 3rd, 1983, or March 4th, 1983. And I had the famous ballerina partners, the great ballerina Sally Wilson. She and I had 4 ballets made for us. We were starting a world tour. It was the weekend of the first week of the world tour that we were headlining. It was the 90th birthday gala of our teacher, who is named Margaret Krask. And it was televised live from New York. And in the middle of the performance, my Achilles tendon ruptured 100%. And in those days, the camera was as big as a car, and the lights that you needed on the stage were huge. They were probably, a meter in diameter, and there were 12 of them. And so the curtains were all pulled back, secured, And so you couldn't close the curtain, and it was live television. There was a 10-second lag between what was happening, what was being broadcast. I was in a wheelchair for the next 3 years. And after that, I had probably 6 to 9 months on crutches, and then still have a cane to today. What happened was that when that happened and I was in the hospital, I got a call from Cici Mangione di Palma, who was a director at La Scala Milano, who was a friend of mine. And she said, okay, I've got a pad and paper. Start telling me your life story. We're going to publish a book. And then I got another call from Margot, and she said, okay, now, Ken, I'm very concerned about the state of ballet. And so we need to really, and we had already been working since 1979 on developing an academy that would have her name. And she said, I'm sorry you're in bed, and I know this may be inconvenient, but I want to go over the daily schedule of the dancers, start age 8, and what they will be studying. And I'm like, what? The thing was, both of those brilliant women knew that I had to focus on something bigger than my life, than my day, than my moment. Margot had me focusing on what would be in ballet 500 years from now. Cici, Silvana Mangione di Palma, her name was Cici. Cici said, no, you're part of history, and you got to record it for history. In other words, they both started to make me think big. And then I got 2 other calls. I got a call from Violette Verdi, the famous ballerina, and she said, I don't care if you have money, if you don't have money, get the best doctors you can. I need you in Boston. Immediately we start rehearsals with the principal dancers. And then Sally Wilson called me, my partner, and she said, she came into the hospital actually, and she had all the tapes, like the huge broadcast tapes. And she said, what do you want me to do with these? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, this is your accident. These are the videotapes from the broadcaster that are your accident. I took them. I wouldn't let them have them. She said, what do you want me to do with them? And I said, destroy them. And immediately then I was booked at those days 3 years in advance. And immediately dancers started coming into my bedside in the hospital to audition for me so I could teach them my roles. You have to keep going. And I didn't want to. I did not want to. I wanted to stop. I wanted to roll over. I wanted to play dead. In the years that came after that, spent many years drinking. I took a lot of drugs. I didn't want life. And that chorus of women, strong women, just they wouldn't stop. Oh, I hated them. I didn't want to hear the phone ring and hear their voices because they were making me do something. But you've got to have that. And today now I know whenever anybody gets knocked down, I know to remind them of the bigger picture, bigger than this moment, bigger than even one person's lifetime. And so that's something that, your story's reminding of. You told me, and I'll let you say it in your own words, but you were a very, very prominent and promising athlete. You had attention from everywhere. And you had a March 4th, 1983 in your life. You had a game, an injury, and here you are, and you're dancing beautifully. Yeah. And I'm much happier that you ended up being a dancer and not an athlete. But nothing against all you athletes out there, but I really like dancers. Right. Anyway.
Yeah, and you see, for me, dancing wasn't really something that I looked at as a career. It was more as a hobby, because I was in gymnastics for 10 years, and there I learned that's where I learned how most to do all the cool athletic dance moves that I do, and then also watching the Step Up movies, if you've ever heard the Step Up movies, watching what they did, mimicking their movements, trying to put what I learned from those movies and from what I learned in gymnastics all together. And eventually it was just something that I loved to do, even if it wasn't an ideal career to go up on. I just love doing it. It's just so much fun.
Mm, mm, mm. No, before I say anything, let Mr. Pike say something before he kills me. Mr. Pike.
I like some people say in movies I like to watch. I like to listen. So that's because I'm a musical person. But I know Ken's story. He talked about his Achilles heel. I didn't see the video either, and as he said, he destroyed them, so it's a bit hard. But it must be devastating. I think of being a musician and a trumpet musician. I think of Chet Baker. I think I believe he was in Los Angeles or somewhere like that, and he's right at the top of his cool jazz career. And he walked outside, and somebody mugged him, wanted money from him, and smacked him hard in the mouth and broke his jaw and broke all. So with trumpet, all this is very important. It's only a little part of your body, but yeah, you spend years, 15, 20 years even developing it. And if somebody does that, you're completely back to square one. And he turned to alcoholism, and he just absolutely devastated. So to be able to bounce back from that kind of a trauma is a very special thing. And I saw videos of him much later in life playing music. He could never, he lost a bit of his technical proficiency, but the artistry was still in the music. And actually, I guess he's remembered, I'm talking probably about an artist that most people wouldn't know, but the artistry of his playing and the style is what people were looking for. It's the communication. So Ken has talked about Margot Fonteyn as she got older, working with Rudolf Nureyev and other dancers, that just age itself starts to constrain you. You can't jump as high or flip as quickly as you can, and how you adapt and you find a way to keep the art going. And again, a performance. And I'm not an expert in this area at all, but I'm sure a performance of hers later on, it's about the artistry and coming forth. So, Mr. Wolff, how have you adapted from your injury? Is there anything that you can't do that you would have been able to do if you hadn't had the accident? And you borrowed from gymnastics, but is there anything you've had to adapt yourself with your art now?
Well, not necessarily. I lost a lot of some of the moves that I was able to do back then, and it's hard for me to go back into those moves. Sometimes when I would attempt it, my knee would tighten up, and I just feel a small little pain, and I end up not being able to do it. And I took a lot of physical therapy on my knee, and it's healed for the most part, but in the long run, if something were to happen again, I could permanently damage something, and that's not something that I'm looking to have happen. So I do my best to try and take it easy when it comes to my dancing, but that doesn't mean I still don't have fun with it.
Yeah, I think it's I danced for like 5 years with knee injuries. There was one time where I went to a sport ground, and I was trying to do some front flips and back flips and stuff like that. And I ran and I jumped very high, and I don't know what happened. I cannot explain what happened, but I ended up injuring both of my knees. And I had so many plans for my dancing, and now that I had to dance with these injured knees, I had to limit myself and look at people rising above me. But I didn't stop. I had to find a way to continue with my dancing, knowing that okay, if I step, because what's interesting is that sometimes I would just walk not even dancing and just walking, then something would just happen and my knee would just pop out, and I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy, so I taught myself how to dance with these knee injuries, and I managed to become one of the best dancers in Africa, and I can relate to what you're talking about, to what you gentlemen are talking about, getting injured, but the fact that after getting injured we don't give up, we always find a way to work around that and take that, because I believe that as human being we are born injured, because look at this, look at how this arm can bend, but there's some part of the body that cannot bend like that, but we taught ourselves to live with whatever, the adjustments that the body can do, so I take it as an excuse that if you come across a certain challenge in your body, you will stop what you love, you stop doing what you love because of the injury or whatever that is. So that what kept me pushing also, that I should not stop what I love because of the injury, because I was born injured. Look at how my knees can bend, look at how my back can bend, look at how my head can that's like an injury on its own. If you keep doing it over and over again, it end up not hurting, like how the child, how a baby does. They crawl and they start walking, because it might be hurting, we don't know, we can't remember because we're too young, but it hurts, and then at some point they get used to it and it becomes their nature, and then they start walking. So that's really amazing, that you guys shared something like that. I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Laden, and I think we're going to go to the news soon. Mr. Laden.
Okay, well, I in my career, I have worked with a lot of athletes. I've worked with a lot of athletes recovering from injuries, as not just dancers, but athletes as well. But also, I've had the great privilege and honor to work with people like Thomas Young, who was part of a whole movement of bringing dance to, I don't think they call them disabled, I think they call them other-abled or something. And through that, I met Dan Daw. Look him up, unbelievable dancer. He's got, I believe, cerebral palsy from birth, and he's an incredibly expressive dancer. I also, speaking of Violette Verdi, she was director at Gallaudet College in Maryland, which is outside of Washington, D.C., and she had me come in and teach and choreograph for deaf dancers. I have been on stage with a very famous blind dancer, Alicia Alonso, and I have worked with so many people. What art is, as David said, it's the communication. It's not the language, it's not the facility, it's not the injuries, and it's not the tremendous abilities. It's the communication, And so what I wanted to ask you, Ms. What is the thing that you want to communicate that drives you to keep going? What's that thing that's so important for people in the world to know and to hear, that you can express through your movement, that is the best for you, or the guiding light for you?
The guiding light for me that I would say is that when life knocks you down, you gotta understand that what you do after that will define who you are. If you choose to stay down, then life is just gonna be nothing but downs, and then you can never find that balance between bad and good in your life. But if you let it bring yourself back up and be like, yo, no, it was just one little bump in the road. Now I need to start looking at where my next ceiling that I must break through is at next. Whether it's in the same thing that brought you down, or it's in something else that you find really good in your life. Whether it's finding a different job that you're really good at, that you couldn't do before, that you didn't think you'll ever be able to do, or bad situations that have happened to you, and now you're trying to make good decisions to better your life and find that balance between bad and good.
That's excellent. Those are words to live by for every single person.
It is. It
Is there a
is.
way that you express that in dancing? Is there, how do you show that through your dance?
I
Just
show
by
it through
doing
my
it, I
I
suppose.
show that through my dance by just showing everyone what I do by dancing and when people ask what got you into dancing, and I'll just tell them like sometimes you just find a passion for something when you see it and it just hits you and you're just like, yo, I want to start doing that. I want to be in that way. And then when you are someone that has had an injury, you try to show what has happened to you by your dance, by like either hitting it really hard and really fast or hitting it really slow. And just it's because dance is an expression of who you are. It's a part of you. It and it tells your story. It doesn't just tell some other person's story. It tells your story because how you dance is it brings out your soul and it brings out your heart. And for anyone that can understand dance and how it moves people, then they'll understand who you are just by your dancing.
Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, that's really amazing because I've seen a lot of performances where people would dance until they cry, and sometimes you'd find that the audience cries before they cry, you know, and you're like, oh, wow, so everybody knows the story, because it's not verbal, it's movements, but these movements are like sentences that you write, and or you are like words that you tell to people, and like Wolff said, you're telling a story, and it's your story, whether you're telling a story that is about somebody else, but it is your story, how you view that story or how you experience that story. If you saw somebody dying or you saw somebody getting successful, you telling a story of what you saw. It's really amazing. I've seen and one thing I love about dancing, it doesn't only heal the performer, but it heals the viewers or the audience. It's just so amazing. It's out of this world. Anyways, I'm just gonna pass it over to Mr. Ladino Pike to comment on this one. But it's really amazing what the body can do, how we can speak without saying words. Because I know I grew up being like this shy young person, and it's true. Like how Wolff said that when people ask you why did you start dancing, and then when they find out the background behind that, they're like, oh wow, so you're speaking to people because maybe you were shy at school, you couldn't speak to people, when people were expressing themselves, words were not enough for you, and because that's how I was, I was a very shy, quiet young man, but handsome, okay, so I was like, okay, you know what, for me to be able to speak my mind and to share my experience, I can do it through dance. I mean, this is it's just amazing what you shared, Wolff. But I'll pass it over to Mr. Pike or Mr. Ladding, please.
Mr.
I
Pike.
I'm working with Margot Fontaine Academy at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting out the ballet, and I come from it's an interesting way you're talking about the stories and making it your own, because I get the libretto, I try and let it settle in myself, and then I try to manifest that in musical, and then I hand it back, which is a good thing, because normally if you write a piece of music, it's pretty much there, and then it's between you, the orchestra, and then the audience and the listeners. But in the ballet or the dance aspect, then the choreographer gets hold of it, and so there's some working out and fine tuning, and also some more manifestation of the expression. And then sometimes I don't, for many months, get to see what what the movement, that the choreography has been applied to the music, and it's usually a very pleasant surprise to see that like when you tell somebody a story at a party and then they walk away and they Chinese whisper, they go and tell someone else, but there's some slight changes. So what we think that we're expressing sometimes gets changed, and it's not a negative thing I'm stating. It's actually refreshing and creative to see other people take on your expression as the composer, the music, and their interpretation of what you expressed, and then how they manifest. And then of course it gets down from the choreographer, it gets down to the dancer, and then the dancer's actually dancing this their interpretation of what they understand the choreographer is trying to tell them. So it's the only thing I can, off the top of my head, think that could be anything like it, which really doesn't happen a lot, would be somebody doing a sketch on a piece of paper with charcoal or graphite, and then a painter coming along and then putting color into it. And then the next minute, a videographer coming on and animating it or turning it into a film or something. There's all this reinterpretation and ownership and manifestation. So it's very amazing to me, because you like to make it individual and express on top of the choreography that you've been given or what you understand it to be. You like, Mr. Wolff, like you said, you like to take it and express your soul as well. So all these nuances are absolutely fascinating for me. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, Mr. Laden, and then we go to the news. Or maybe
Okay.
Mr. Wolff
Yeah.
wants to say something before you go to the news. Yeah, please go for it.
As a choreographer, just like you said, David, you pass on your music to the choreographer. As a choreographer, I like to pass on my choreography to the dancers. I love seeing how each dancer makes the statement, the basic statement that I created. And, the reason people go to see fine art, they go to a museum, they go to a symphony, they go to a Shakespeare play, they go to an opera, they go to a ballet. The reason they do that, the thing that motivates them, is they want to see something that is authentic and has integrity. It comes from someplace real, it's about something important, and what is being said really reflects the statement of the person dancing, speaking, singing, playing their horn, whatever it is. And that authenticity can only happen when artists are free to express themselves. As you said, Mr. Wolff, it tells your story. Now, you might be telling the story of the emperor's new clothes, but the way you dance that role, it's true. It comes from your authentic self. The integrity of your experience shows, and that makes it so that it can speak and be believed. So much of what we hear today, you don't know to believe it or not believe it. You don't know if you're being manipulated. Everything is artificial. Nothing is authentic. Nothing has integrity, and so it's all about that.
Yeah,
For me.
it's about taking a piece of art and putting your own artistic vision into it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's really amazing that a lot of people will learn about dance today. I know there's a lot of people who do not understand why dance, what is dance, why will you just get up and leave everything else and just choose to dance. So I'm glad we're talking about this. I know that we are going to be also talking about a part of Wolff as an electrician, which is amazing because I love it. But maybe Mr. Laden, do you wanna briefly take us to the news and let us know what's happening in the news?
Certainly.
Absolutely, go for it.
Welcome to Global Sunday News. I'm Kenneth Ludden, speaking on behalf of Global Sunday News. Today we have a world very much in unrest. Aside from COVID, people are sick and tired of being dominated. They are sick and tired of being little pawns in the game of somebody else's greed or somebody else's ego. In our first news segment today, we're going to look at what's happening right now around the world. And of course, one of the stories that I believe our top story is about the fires in Greece and Turkey. And these are the fires like have been everywhere. And this is part of global warming. But part of global warming is this domination of people who want to take all of the riches from the earth and turn it into riches for themselves. And now Mother Nature is fighting back. So we will talk about this on the other side of the news segment. Stay tuned.
The suburb of Thrakomakadonis became apocalyptic Saturday after a wave of wildfires that started on Mount Parnithia on the outskirts of Athens ripped through the town. Residents scrambled to save what they could before firefighters joined them to tackle the flames.
It started this morning when the fire was on the mountain. They could have sent the fire trucks to put it out, but they left it. And now it's come down and the east side of Thrakomakadonis has caught fire.
The blaze forced thousands of people and animals to evacuate. Despite the threat, leaving everything behind was still a hard pill for some to swallow. Emergency crews say over 1,000 Greek firefighters and reinforcements from Cyprus, France and Israel have been deployed to fight the blazes. Their work will not be over anytime soon. The fires that have erupted in many parts of the country are set to continue as strong winds fan the flames. This amid Greece's worst heat wave in more than 30 years. Lives have been lost, entire homes and businesses destroyed. But Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis says the country will rebuild.
All the burnt land will be reforested, and we'll change the way that we carry out flood protection and fire prevention works.
Like in the Akita Peninsula, mass evacuations also took place in Evia, the country's second largest island just east of the capital. Blazes continue to burn there and in the Peloponnese region, located in the southwest of Greece.
A bullet hole in the back window. Blood smeared across the front seats of the vehicle. This is where Taliban ambushed and killed the director of Afghanistan's government media center, and there was little else bystanders could do.
The worshippers who were attending prayers tried to stop the attackers, but the attackers threatened them. They said, "Let us go or we'll shoot you too." As soon as people saw their weapons, they got out of their way.
Within hours, the Taliban spokesman put out a statement taking responsibility for the brazen daytime assassination in Kabul. This is the latest killing of a government official, and it comes only days after an attempt on the country's acting defense minister. The slaying also comes amid a surge in fighting by the militant group for more territory. This, as US and NATO forces complete their final pullout from Afghanistan by the end of the month. Earlier this Friday, it was residents in Lashkargah in southern Helmand province who were caught in the crossfire. And so local residents stood by as heavy smoke billowed over the city, which has become the latest battleground in the fighting between Afghan security forces and insurgents. This has also aggravated the already existing humanitarian crisis, with local shops catching fire.
We're closely following developments, though, overseas between Israel and Lebanon, where the two countries are on a day 3 of exchanging fire. Israel fired artillery across the border this morning in what it says was a response to earlier rocket fire from Hezbollah. Hezbollah says its attack was in retaliation to rare full-blown airstrikes from Israel, which targeted Lebanese launch sites on Thursday. The airstrikes came after rockets were fired from Lebanon Wednesday. No one has claimed responsibility for those strikes. An Israeli military spokesperson says that while they don't want a war, the military is, quote, very prepared for one. Joining me now from Jerusalem is NBC News foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez. Raf, what are you hearing about how this has played out and where things go from here?
Yeah, Eamon, the question Israeli and Lebanese families are asking themselves tonight is this going to lead to all-out war as it did back in 2006. Now, both the Israeli military and Hezbollah say they don't want a war, but that doesn't mean that they won't escalate their way into one. As you said, this sequence began on Wednesday. Someone, possibly small Palestinian faction operating in southern Lebanon, fired 3 rockets into Israel. Israel responding with artillery and then with airstrikes. And then we had 24 hours of calm until about 11 a.m. this morning when the sirens started blaring across northern Israel. 19 rockets fired by Hezbollah, most of them intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. Israel firing back with artillery. Now, at this time, there is no reports of any casualties on the Israeli or on the Lebanese side.
Retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman became a household name in late 2019 after he testified at a hearing for Donald Trump's first impeachment. Vindman was the director of European Affairs for the National Security Council under the Trump administration. As such, he was listening in on that quid pro quo call that Trump made to the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, asking him to dig up dirt on Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Despite the great cost of speaking up, Vindman did what needed to be done. He chose patriotism. He chose to tell the truth. Donald Trump's abuse of power and the events leading up to his first impeachment are the subject of Vindman's new book, released this past week. It's called Here, Right Matters, An American Story. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman joins me now. Colonel Vindman, good to see you again. You and I are bookending this week. We started with a conversation early this week, and at the end of that conversation, I asked you, was it worth it? You have now had a chance to talk to lots and lots of people and get a lot of feedback on your book. And I ask you again, was that decision to report what happened on that phone call and then subsequently testify at the impeachment of President Donald Trump, was it worth it?
You know, Ali, I was sat up most of this morning, didn't sleep very well last night, thinking about that very question. And there's little that I would do to there's nothing I wouldn't do to defend this country. But the personal cost was immense. If I had just stayed silent, if I had not reported that phone call, the president would not have been impeached, and my life would not have been thrown into turmoil. I would still have a military career. I would still have those relationships that had fallen apart over the subsequent months, weeks and months. I wouldn't have created a massive amount of anxiety in my family. So there was a great personal cost, but I still stick to this idea that it was worth it because I think I served my nation.
Did it help you that people have come out and realized the role you played and realized now that you've written the book what it was about your background and your father and the nature of your life that caused you to do that? Has the support, this is important because I just spoke about whistleblowers and how difficult it is for them. Has the support helped to shore up the fact that that was the right decision?
Not really. I think it's my own convictions that I did the right thing and the immediate support of my family. Frankly, there is a deep complacency in America about the threats that this country faces. On the other side, on the right, on the far right, represented by President Trump, by his proxies, by Tucker Carlson, we have a growing fascism, an ultra-right fascism in which there's a will to suppress freedoms. There's an extreme view towards dictatorial regimes, and there is not that kind of response from the rest of America, from the rest of society. We were very, very fortunate that 81 million Americans voted Trump out of office.
Yes. Yeah, welcome back. There was news. I'm just gonna let Mr. Ladin, close the news, and then we go back to our talk with our special guest, and then from there we are going to play a music video. As you know, we support upcoming artists, and we make sure that each and every time we on the show, we play 1 or 2 music videos from our lovely upcoming artists. But Mr. Ladin, please. Close the news for us.
Thank you, Lungani. The last clip that was started was designed to actually play longer, but we again had some technical difficulties, as everyone in the world is now quite familiar with. But I want to talk about that remarkable group of young ladies who were swimming. It was the artistic synchronized swimming event. It is the Russian Olympic Committee's entry. They ended up scoring 97.9 on that, which is almost a perfect 10 in Olympic terms. The remarkable thing about this is that not only have they developed such an unbelievable ability in their performance or the action of their sport. I don't know if that's called a performance or not. But as a dancer, and since we're talking about dance today, I encourage everyone to go on your video access, whether it's YouTube or the news or wherever it is you can watch things. Look at that Russian Olympic Committee gold medal winning performance in its entirety. It is an absolute study of what the human body can do. Lungani was talking before about the mobility of the arm. Because of technology, which maybe causes a problem in broadcast, but because of technology, they're able to have these cameras that show what's above the water and what's going on below. And you see those 6 women or 8 women, I didn't count them, and you see they're doing these very small movements, but it's making them all be exactly, it's phenomenal to watch. And the way that they are in sync with each other, and yet each one is expressing herself. It's a tremendous thing. That's why we wanted to end the first segment of the news with that, because there is such unrest in the world. But there is also, in spite of that, this nature of expression, this nature of life, the affirmation of life going on in the arts, even in the sport-based arts. And so I want to bring us back to our show from that. Thank you for watching the news. We will have our COVID update later in this episode. So back to you, my chums and pals on the panel, my panel pals.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ladd. Maybe let's have Mr. Pike welcoming us back. I know we are going to be sending shout outs to people who are supporting the show, people who are commenting on Facebook, and we'll see if we can be able to reach YouTube also to say hello to people who are supporting the show and commenting. And we are also going to be sharing the comments that we see here with the public. So Mr. Pike, what you been thinking?
Welcome back. The Olympics is always amazing because it's the people anyone that's qualified to get into the Olympics has done a lot of work. I don't think people could realise, swimmers get up at 4 o'clock regularly and they do a couple of hours before some of them have jobs and they go to work. And one of the Australian athletes, she works at the supermarket in the food hall, and she made it to the Olympics as well. And there's, after the Olympics, there's the Paralympics as well, and we'll see more great athletes performing and all the diligence that they put into their work. And even people who only make a qualifier. There were people that didn't get out of the blocks after 4 years of training. Imagine hours and hours a day of training for sprints, and then your big moment comes, and then you don't get out of the blocks. You make a bad start or something, and you're out qualified. So it takes bravery as well. I want to go back to our great guest, Mr. Wolff. I want a couple of questions for you. Where are you based, and what project are you currently working on?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the first question, Mr. Pike?
So where are you based? Where's your headquarters or located?
Oh, my hometown that I was born and raised at is Prescott, Arizona.
Okay.
I've been a local here for many years, been living in the same house since I was about 3 or 4 years old. Still living with my parents, and they've always supported anything and everything that I've ever done in my life, always had my back. And I'm sorry, I also missed the second question that you had, Mr. Pike.
Second question is, what are you currently working on at the moment?
Right now, um, what I just finished was this dance video. Mostly it was for the show actually. We had just recorded it on Friday, and we also took the pictures for the show on Thursday. And because being on the show was kind of short notice for me a little bit, we had to get it done really fast. I'm currently not working on anything new, but probably starting tomorrow, I'll be starting something new, and I can't wait to get started with it.
Can you tell us about what that is, or is that a secret at the moment?
I have no idea what that is. I have no idea what that is, but I will say it's gonna be mind-blowing.
It's possibly from Central Intelligence Agency work, perhaps.
Yeah, well, it's really amazing. I want to get to the electrical part of Wolff, because I know that I have been a technician before, but there's like a slight difference between a technician and an electrician, because it's somehow at some point we meet, we meet somewhere and we're like, hey, technician, I'm an electrician, what are you doing here? You putting cables? What cables? So it's more or less the same thing. But I do want to know, you are an electrician, and how did it start, and why did you choose to be an electrician? You can be a soccer player. You can be okay. I know you're a stripper sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But you could have chosen to stick with being a stripper, or a golfing, or being a mechanical engineer, or something else. But why an electrician?
It all started with my father. My father, he's an electrical designer, right? And he owns his own business out here in Prescott, Arizona. And shout out to him, Ralph Archibald. His company is Electrical Design and CAD Services. He's a great designer, mostly does commercial work. If you out there in the construction community know what that means. And he got me in touch with one of his electrician colleagues. And I just thought, I need some strong, bone-crushing, hard work in my life. And so I got into being an electrician, and I started with low volt for a while. Did that for about 2 years, and then I got into the very dangerous high voltage, actually going to construction sites and installing all the wiring, all the outlets, all the switches, the can lights, all that onto houses and metal buildings and all that. So and I learned to love it, and it's a great trade to learn if you're a young man my age, because it could open so many doors for you in the future. So many doors if you can't fall on something that your dream career. It's definitely something else you could definitely fall on and make a career out of and make a good living off of.
Mr. Ladin, I know you're not an electrician or technician, but you are this amazing person who has experienced a lot of things, and I know you definitely have something to say regarding this.
So yeah, I the only kind of electricity I'm familiar with is the kind that happens between people and between a performer and an audience. But I have had to rely on electricity a lot in my life. And I have a great deal of respect for anyone who can understand it. I still, from high school, can't figure out watts ohms, amps, and volts. I have no idea what they are, but I do know how you write the symbols for them, but I don't know what they mean. In the academy, you know, we've set up, we've built buildings, we've renovated buildings, we've moved our program into pre-existing spaces, and the electricians are absolutely key. You know, in the body, what makes us feel sensation in our skin, and what makes us aware of things, the way that we can see things, smell things, hear things, everything is from electricity. The electricity going through the brain, out through the spine, into the body. I know that a lot of the Eastern healing modalities have to do with what's called meridians, and those are the sort of the main pathways of that electrical energy. How interruptions in it can indicate different you know, injuries or states of unbalance. To me, it's all the same thing. And it's something that's above my pay grade in life. I do rely on electronics to be working. And I can be a little bit of, I don't know, just make tiny little comments on the side of complaining when electricity doesn't work or technical things don't work. As a matter of fact, I think the storms that it causes me probably are named just like hurricanes and cyclones, because it really is upsetting when that fails. I think that it's really incredible what you do in terms of electricity. I know that also with David, you know, we're creating this ballet, and I would say, David, that even when we're in the same room, we're still relying on electricity. We're relying on what David and I call the Smurf orchestra, which is the captured sounds of a violin and a clarinet and a drum put through a computer to be able to take the dots and the dashes of written music and make that to something you can listen to. And then even when with the recordings that we made in Russia, they were recorded with electricity. You know, electricity is really important. Do you, Wolff, do you imagine, like, because of your knowledge, when you're thinking of a project, like you say, you just finished filming and all of that, do you ever conceive of projects or are pursuing ideas in dance that are a fusion of your knowledge of electricity and your ability to dance? Like, you must. I would imagine that that's got to be part of it. But does that speak to you at all?
Yeah, because...
I'm sorry, we're going to have to take a break because I think the video has been blocked. I let the part of that video that was not supposed to play live, and the video is blocked. So I'm just going to take a break and play a video and then see if we need to restart the live so people can catch up for where we left off, or we can still be able to continue. So I'm just going to play this video.
You are watching Global Sundays.
Yeah, we'll see later. Okay, cool. I'm sorry, I should have...
Yeah.
Welcome back to Global Sundays. Welcome to our special guest today, Mr. Wolff, live from Arizona, Mr. Ken Ludden, live from Arizona, Mr. Lungani from the alien spaceship above us that looks after us and keeps the missiles from attacking. Thanks very much. We got Facebook issues because we were very naughty. We put on some video of the beautiful Olympics, and there's some big brother out there is wanting to stop that. So what we're going to do, YouTube is all go, and we're going to log off at the moment and ask you to come back. So we'll go from the live feed, and then the recorded feed will be intact. So over to you, Mr. Lungani.
Absolutely. Okay, let me just quickly say hello to people who has been interacting with us and commenting. I know a lot of people were commenting on Facebook, and they're probably like really frustrated right now because they're not gonna hear their names being shouted live. But I know Miss Classic is here. Shout out to you, Miss Classic. We miss you, the Queen of Global Sunday. Yeah, I know that she sent a very long text to the whole team, and Mama Mia, I know you're here to Lunar Markets. I know you were there, so I'm just saying them straight from my head. But shout out to you guys. We're gonna come back, and if you're watching on YouTube and you were watching on Facebook, you'll be able to get an opportunity to go back on Facebook and watch again. But for now, let's take a short break. And we come back and we talk some more with our special guest, the Wolff.